Should be at the top here in the box. Awesome. So for my strengths, this is where we're going to start. So we've been working on monitoring the quality of student work during independent practice, but last time I went back from our notes from before the break, because that's the last time we had like a normal coaching session.
Yeah.
Because the last one we went over your IA. But that last time we met in December, we talked about you really wanted to think about when you were circulating, starting to take note of what questions you wanted to go over and what questions you didn't, and then also focus on kids with partial answers so you knew to go back to them. So what's been going well with that, and what's been the impact of thinking in that way?
Well, I haven't been doing more of a call out, to be honest, like when it comes to like calling out partial answers. What I have been doing was when I see that they're on the right track towards the correct answer, I go and I underline that they need to add more. So then I come back to them the second time around to see whether or not their response is complete. Because even if they have the partial answer, pretty much like it's not like I don't know if it's considered like a leading question, but it's almost like okay, so how do you know that? Explain. Is what I actually tell them. How is it that you know that this part is correct, but how do you know that? Explain. And what I've been noticing is that they're actually like completing the actual descriptions. They're completing the explains.
Okay.
I think it's because I'm holding them more accountable.
So this is what I heard, and tell me if I'm wrong. I've not been doing a call out of students that have a partial answer, but I've given them feedback and made a note to come back to them. By making a note for them, they're completing the descriptions, they're completing the explains.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So you also, in addition to those partial answer kids, you wanted to start thinking about what questions to go over in detail in the do now and which questions not to. So how have you been thinking about that when you circulate, and what's been the impact?
Well, as I've been circulating, especially like, what I've been doing is like after our explain notes, I've been giving more questions pertaining to the lesson, which will have them actually go back to their notes, or it's pretty much adding from previous knowledge that we've done from previous days to make the connection. And as I've been doing that, what I've noticed is that the students that get the answer halfway through, like the ones that get it halfway through are able to recall a majority of the lesson, but are still having problems looking back at their notes to make the connection of what the actual lesson is being like what the summary of it is. So then that helps me to add more check for understanding questions within the lesson.
Okay. So you're using it more of like a preview tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about today specifically something we've talked about before, but we didn't talk about specific steps.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to dive deep into today is how to prepare for and actually collect data when you circulate.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that mentally, but how can you be more strategic? The ultimate goal would be like if you see like 100% of the class has the first question right, then you just post the answer and say, okay, I know we need to go over number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because the students are very engaged in your class, and that will save time and boredom of you going over a question they already know.
Okay.
So today we're going to dive into, like I said, how to prepare for and collect data. So I have some packets of paychecks right here.
Mm-hmm.
The first step in preparing to collect data, sorry, I'm going to move your stuff. I get all in your space. The first step is to print a packet for each class. If you're somebody who can, if you wanted to record them all in one spot, you could do that. However, I have seen sometimes that gets confusing when you're circulating around. What do you think?
I think as long as you have a data chart, it shouldn't be that
Okay.
difficult.
Okay.
Like if you had, each class written down within.
This.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first thing though is to like have a copy of your own so you can go around and collect the data.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you notice about the way she collects data? And you can flip through these.
Alright, so she has it categorized by like correct and correct.
Mm-hmm.
Then she has it by the percentage of correct depending on what questions were being asked. She has the initials of the kids that she's going to call on.
Mm-hmm.
And then she marks down the students that didn't finish.
Great.
She calls on one of the same kids 4 times.
What are the initials?
DM.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a student with an IEP. So the two things that I want to stamp on my model, and I think it's important to start small, make a tally mark for each kid who gets it right, and write the initials of a kid that's incomplete, because this is something you named before that you want to follow up with.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start at this very like basic level, it'll tell you, again, like maybe you don't need to review a question, or those are the kids you need to follow up with. So I'm gonna show you a video. Oh, I had a question I wanted to ask you. So what is the impact of collecting this data? I kind of just told you, but maybe you can stamp it.
The impact of collecting the data is that pretty much getting 100% of the kids to, one, understanding the material, and two, to actually getting to the kids that aren't quite there, but making sure that they do get there.
Good. What else? Say there's 6 questions on the do now, and 100% of kids get number 2 right.
And that helps you move on to the next question, so you don't have to go over number 2.
Good. Great. So let's watch some videos. I have tons of videos now of you aggressively monitoring, but in this first video, I want you to tell me what is one thing you did well, and what is one improvement you would make. This is a very short clip. I hope it's the right clip. I'm sorry for my filming.
It's all over the place.
So maybe listen. Yeah, listen.
Alright.
Right after this clip ends, you said, I'm looking at number, I think it was 7.
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing you did well and one thing you'd improve?
One, tell them what I'm checking for.
And you, that's what you did well?
No, that's what I need to. That's what I needed to do. That's what I didn't do well.
Okay. You
'Cause I
did do it right after this. It just got cut off.
Oh, okay. And I think that I was telling the kids that I was coming around was a good thing.
That is a good thing. That's what I was going to say. Great. Now, what is one thing you do differently? What did you say you were coming around with?
Stickers.
What also should you be coming around with when you're checking their work?
The pen that I had in my hand.
You fixed it in this next video, shortly after. What's in your hand now?
The packet.
And why is that important?
So that I can double check the answers to make sure that I'm looking at the exemplar as I'm looking at their papers.
Yes, this was like 2 minutes later, and my filming is much better. You caught yourself, right? So You have the right tools. It's about consistently doing them. I haven't watched the whole thing. I just wanted to show you that one part. Yeah, again, this is when you have the packet in the hand. I notice whenever you have the packet, I'll see you sometimes go back and forth several times because, again, you're become a beautiful monster and you're like, nope, you're missing a word. You will catch a word. Also, great teacher moves, being able to circulate and manage literally 15 feet away. Your radar is an incredible strength. So my camera fell over. I don't know. My tripod was drunk this day.
Are you trying to get it back on balance?
It's gonna.
It's making you dizzy.
So you went around the whole class and checked your. Yeah, it did. It just made my eyes water.
Yeah.
You went around and checked the whole class and checked it against the exemplar. Did you collect data?
On my paper?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I didn't write anything down.
What would have been the impact if you did? Don't look at my prescriptive.
I can't even see that.
Good.
To be honest.
So what would have been the impact if you had collected data? You went through the whole class, right? That's what the rest of the 20 minutes is.
Yeah.
Because you can get your kids to practice for an obscene amount of time. So it's great. Right, another strength. But what would have been the impact if you collected data when you walked around?
Maybe it just would have made. I think that it would have made the understanding better, but it would have pushed them. Like especially when it came back to me, like going over questions and answers.
Right. So let's go with that. So when you're collecting data, what are you using the data for?
To see the amount of correct versus incorrect, and
Then what are you going to do with that?
Well, it helps to make sure that you're not going over the things that the students already know, so that you're just hitting on the things that they need more clarification on.
And what else? If you're collecting those initials, what are you going to do with that?
Those are the kids that you're going to target in order to get that 100%.
Great. So this is the push for this week, to prepare for and actually collect data when you circulate. So this is something that we talked about before, but I'm being more explicit. I'm going to drop this into your action step for this week.
Okay.
It's on this sheet. Print off a packet. And you said you would rather than have a packet for each class, you said you'd prefer to have a chart. Okay, and create a chart on the packet. Alright, so if you can pull this up. Read through that, let me know if that.
Okay, prepare for and collect data when circulating, note and packet which questions are optimal. Print off a packet and create a chart on the packet. Put a tally mark for each correct response and list the initials of the scholars with incomplete or inaccurate responses.
How does that sound?
Okay.
Alright, so do you have a packet for today?
I have it in my room.
Can you go grab it?
Yeah.
Awesome, so let's follow these steps. Which questions are you gonna focus your AGMO on in the do now?
On the do now, I focus on the constructive response.
Okay, so let's start with that, and then let's make a chart. Let's see, for the rest of the day, you still have...
Stanford and Spelman.
So, let's make a chart for Stanford and Spelman, and again, we wanna make a chart so that we can keep track of tally marks for kids who got it right, and initials for kids that you're gonna have to have stamp the answer when you're reviewing, or follow up with. Awesome. Good. Let's look through the rest of the packet.
This one right here.
And the best moments are gonna be when you go to the front and say, "We don't need to go over this. You guys all got this."
Yeah,
Kids love that.
I know. This is me just checking to see if they can follow directions.
So no need to ignore that.
Yeah. I think I only got to this through one class. 'Cause my second class is always 10 minutes late. So,
Great. So tomorrow I'm gonna come into Spelman, which is your last block of the day, and I want to observe you.
Someone's getting cut short by like 10 minutes, 2 minutes.
Well, I'm coming for the do now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna come into Spelman for the do now, and I want to watch is for you collecting data during the do now.
Okay.
And I will, when you're done, I'm gonna look at your packet to see the data you collected from the rest of the day. I'm holding your feet to the fire.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks. How do you feel about this?
It's doable.
Yeah. And then, like, once we master this data collection, we're gonna talk about taking it next level for like how we, who we call on in what order when we are reviewing.
Okay.
I'm pretty pumped about what's happening in your classroom.
Okay. I can
You're
do
on
that.
fire, Morse 3.
I can do this.
Good. Great.